Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Ditapelo Kiorapet, Vice President Ndaba Nkosinati Khawulati, Chief Justice of the Republic, Khawulapelo Kitlogetsu, former presidents, former vice presidents, cabinet ministers, President of the Court of Appeal, Deputy Speaker, Assistant Ministers, Leader of the Opposition, Members of Parliament, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Chairman of Nduari Khosi, Permanent Secretary to the President, Attorney General, Judge President of the Industrial Court, Judges of the Court of Appeal, Judges of the High Court and Judges of the Industrial Court, the Ombudsman, Heads of international organizations, President of the Customary Court of Appeal, Commander of the Botswana Defence Force, Commissioner of Police, Commissioner of Prisons, all permanent secretaries, the Governor of Bank of Botswana, mayors and council chairpersons, councillors, district commissioners, bishops, religious leaders, the clergy, fellow citizens. I greet and recognize each and every one of you. We meet here today. Esteemed Speaker, Botswana Besu, esteemed residents of this Republic, friends of Botswana, greetings to you all. May I request that we start by rising for a moment of silence in honor and remembrance of all those who have departed since our last sitting. Fellow members of this House from the previous Parliament, citizens and residents, public servants, including erstwhile Member of Parliament for Kalagadi South, Dr. Micas Chimbombi, whose services and sacrifices have strengthened our nation. Moment of silence in their honor. Thank you. May God Almighty grant their souls eternal peace and continue to protect and comfort their families and loved ones. We must express our deepest gratitude to Him who blesses us. In the words of Roman scholar Marcus Tullius Cicero, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. As such, we thank God Almighty for His grace and blessings. In the darkest times, it is His light that guides us, and on the brightest of days, it is Him who makes it so. I wish to point out that government has made some improvements to the way you will receive the State of the Nation address. Notably, copies of the SONA, the speech that I'm about to deliver, will be shared. There's also a more graphically engaging and detailed version that will be shared digitally to enable richer discourse among society. This is our way of enhancing availability of information and our increased accountability to the nation. The second session of the 13th Parliament commences today. We gather here as triumphant champions, makers of history, led by heroes and heroines who carried us to heights never seen before. We are a generation of many firsts, the first government led by the Umbrella for Democratic Change, UDC, the first African country to win in the 4x400 meters relay at the World Athletics Championships. We have Botswana's first men's 400 meters world champion. We have our first Olympic gold medalist. Today, we celebrate what it truly means to be a Motswana. I stand before you at a pivotal moment, which marks another first in this country's history. For the first year of the UDC leadership has come to an end. The gloss and charm of novelty is now behind us. This was an interesting year where the shadow of economic challenges tested our resolve, not just the government's resolve, but that of the people of this country. With our hope tested by economic pressures, our resolve crystallized and became stronger. We know where we came from. We know why we needed change. And we know where we are going. Though we intend to arrive faster at our destination, we can only walk this journey one step at a time. This journey of 1,000 miles. In our words and our work, we honor the power of intention to build, to heal, to challenge, to uplift deliberately, purposefully, and together. Hence my selected theme for this year's State of the Nation address, the steady path, delivering on our promise one step at a time. This is a philosophy of governance that recognizes the depth of our challenges while affirming our unwavering commitment to overcoming them. It encapsulates a profound thinking captured by the English playwright John Haywood, that Rome was not built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. Hour by hour, we lay brick by interlocking brick. To the untrained eye, it looks like an untidy landscape of bricks strewn all over the place. But with time and patience, it'll begin to take shape. You will soon see the skeleton of the Colosseum, the concept of the Roman Forum, the inklings of the Pantheon, and a hint of the Trevi Fountain. Slowly, meticulously, Rome is taking shape. Today I lay before you the methodology behind the vision. I give you insight into the master plan. I detail the bricks already in place and the ones we are yet to lay. Our economy, long sustained by wealth generated from mining, especially of diamonds, now faces the sobering reality of global market shifts. Our fiscus is under tremendous strain, bearing the weight of unprecedented global macroeconomic challenges. The goose that lays the golden egg is in critical condition. The UDC government entered office with strained fiscus, depleted coffers, employees owed, contractors owed, farmers owed, a debt of hope to the people and resentment by its rivals. The resentful pray and hope for the UDC to fail, and as such pray for the country to fail. But we will not fail. This country will not fail. The doomsayers wrote us off in the lead up to the 2024 elections. The prolific punditry of doubters and naysayers assailed us all. Analysts and prophets of all colors and hues foretold our spectacular failure at the polls. We were dismissed with such casual certainty and contempt. We stood no chance. The entire press corps of this country was aroused, mobilized and weaponized against the UDC. They predicted, they analyzed, rendered opinions dressed up as fact. They spoke with such authority and confidence. Acres of newspaper space and extended amounts of airplay were devoted to spreading chronically prejudiced views of our adversaries and detractors. On the 30th of October 2024, the people spoke. On that day, all the predictions and prophecies of our detractors evaporated. It became a day of dissolving certainties. On that day, we experienced the most beautiful symphony of comeuppance ever served. History had been made, and the clock of time continues to chime. I stand here today bearing the weight of history. I remind us all of 2024, of our struggles and our strivings, as a way of saluting and humbly acknowledging the supreme sacrifices made by our activists and our people. I stand in absolute awe of the resilience and fortitude of the people of this country. I remind those who cursed and dismissed us that their negative fetishes and fantasies did not happen then. They will not happen now, and they will not happen ever. I say this not to mock. I say it because it is the truth served raw. I want us all to know and always remember that the UDC is an indelible portrait of courage and defiance in the face of denial, denigration, and belittlement. Our central and guiding concern is and always has been to transform the lives and livelihoods of the people of this country. From our conjunctural analysis, we knew we had to address this concern. To achieve this objective under conditions of uncertainty, with diminished resources, and facing a vicious pushback, even from those yet to recover from the trauma of their failed predictions and prophecies. Undeterred, we made bold promises and solemn undertakings to our people. We promised to cut electricity and water tariffs by 30% and make them affordable to every household. We have delivered the 30% reduction in water tariffs and extended a 50% amnesty on outstanding bills for all households. This means that the UDC government forwent monies owed to the government by the people of Botswana so that the people have less financial burden, meaning the government took some of the people's burdens on its shoulders, despite having an ailing fiscus. We promised to increase old age pension from the then 830 pula to 1,800 pula per month. We delivered in the first year, and despite these economic hardships, a 68% increase from 830 pula to 1,400. This means that the UDC government, in the face of an ailing fiscus, increased its social spending on a vulnerable and marginalized group of elderly individuals to make their burdens that much lighter. We promised to increase the living allowance for tertiary students to 2,500 pula. We have, during this economic hardship, delivered in the first year for the hardest hit segment of the student community a very significant increase on the technical vocational education and training TVET allowance from 300 pula to 1,900 pula. What do those who resent change publish? They say the UDC government has outspent previous government's annual expenditure. They omit to tell you that the increase is caused by giving money directly to the people of this country that need it most, with a 68% increase to old age pensions and a 533% increase to TVET allowances. Mind you, we intend to spend more on our people who have more needs that necessitate the spending. The flashy headlines neglect to mention the people actually benefiting from the increased expenditure. When we give 300 pula allowance to nursing mothers, as we surely will, our expenditure will increase. When we attain the old age pension of 1,800 pula, expenditure will increase. When, not if, when we pay students their 2,500 pula allowance, expenditure will increase. When we begin hiring for our 24-hour public service economy, expenditure will increase. We have no qualms of conscience, absolutely, about increasing expenditure for the improved welfare of our people. We promised to deliver a proper constitutional review. In the first year, we've delivered visible progress. The government has gazetted the constitutional amendment bill, which seeks to establish a constitutional court. The bill is ready for debate in the current session of Parliament. This will pave way for a nationwide referendum on the review of the Constitution. Consultations are expected to commence in 2026. We follow the model set by South Africa, whereby the establishment of a constitutional court preceded the constitutional review, so that thereafter there's a forum specially designated to test the rigors and contours of the new constitution before ratifying it into law. We reaffirm our abiding fidelity to the promise of a comprehensive constitutional review. We promise to deliver a sovereign wealth fund that will accelerate Botswana's strategic investments across the globe, ensuring wealth not just for future generations, but even for current generations. We have delivered on this promise, and the Sovereign Wealth Fund has commenced work. We promised to pay a living wage of 4,000 pula. Not only has the private sector continued to overwhelmingly embrace this development, we too, as government, have reached a historic milestone wherein an agreement was reached between government and 7 public sector unions to pay this living wage effective July 2025. When we were faced with a situation of critical shortage of medicine, your government, and through the efforts of friendly nations and international partners, came to swift action. We managed to purchase and obtain donations of medicines worth over 500 million pula, and still counting. Under pressure of an acute shortage, we could not fully exact the levels of saving we otherwise would have if we were procuring under more hospitable circumstances. The systemic challenges of the current value chain of providing medicines have been entrenched for decades, and we are dealing with them boldly to uproot their inefficiencies as quickly as possible. These accomplishments are just the beginning, and we can and we will continue to do more as we move into the next year. However, in the face of real economic challenges, the challenges that our country faces, these accomplishments must not be downplayed. Let us continue to be a nation that possesses the grace of gratitude for what we have achieved under these circumstances, without losing hope for better achievements. We've also made good strides in non-financial objectives that we set in the last State of the Nation address. We've begun rebuilding the nation's trust in its institutions. We've made key appointments to a number of ministries and statutory entities. We have made meritocratic appointments to the judiciary. We've made appointments to the Directorate of Public Prosecutions. We've welcomed a new commander of the Botswana Defence Force. We've made appointments at the Attorney General's chambers. We've made board appointments to parastatals that have begun turning their entities around. We've employed public servants in various positions throughout different ministries whose impact is felt daily. We will continue to make the right appointments. This government does not discriminate. We promised to deliver dignity to all persons in this country, and we began by burying a man in his ancestral home as one of this government's first acts in leadership. We have upheld freedom of speech and expression and given Botswana their voice back. And we saw, flowing from that, enraged, sometimes frustrated members of the population take to the streets in exercise of their freedom on several occasions without any fear of police brutality. Most recently, we introduced different languages to national news broadcast. This is your Botswana. You are safe here. You are part of this country's story. When the resentful accuse the UDC government of trampling people's rights, remind them that for the first time in a long time, the rights we are enjoying in this country are not words on a fading parchment, but are tangible and real. They flow from that grand power of attorney, the Constitution of this republic. There is no looking back on this journey that we've started together. We march forward. We aren't tripping, but we may stumble sometimes. Botswana, your elected representatives spent a better part of the past few months traversing the breadth and dimensions of our country, listening to your ideas on how to take Botswana forward. Based on your valuable ideas and insights, we refined our roadmap as government to building, step by step, the Botswana we all envision, that of a nation of shared prosperity, of dignity, and of sustainable growth that leaves no one behind. We have begun shifting Botswana's public service and political culture towards promoting greater accountability, launching with intent comprehensive economic diversification programs, renegotiating our position in the global diamond market, and responding decisively to the acute crisis, particularly in our healthcare and education system. The UDC manifesto is a social contract upon which Botswana based their decision to appoint the UDC to lead and usher them into a new Botswana of infinite possibilities. Everything that we do, therefore, including especially the National Development Plan and indeed the Botswana Economic Transformation Program, BETP, all draw inspiration directly from and are anchored on this social compact. As such, my address to you today aligns with the pillars of this sacred national social contract. The first pillar, building a deep economy that offers each citizen opportunities for a happy and fulfilled life. Botswana has experienced challenges before, and each time we've emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. As the great Nelson Mandela reminded us, the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Botswana have always risen, and I declare to you with full conviction and fortified hope, Botswana is rising again to heights she has never reached before. The steady path we traverse as we navigate our economic challenges, though urgent, is not one of hasty shortcuts. It is a path of hard work and tangible progress aimed at diversifying the economy for resilience and laying the foundation for sustained growth anchored on good governance, security, and institutional performance that will endure for generations. In order to address these challenges, the government engaged in a rigorous process to develop the 12th National Development Plan, NDP 12. NDP 12 emphasizes inclusive growth built through a private sector-led economy. It buttresses ambitions that refocus the development process to drive towards our true north, a definition of our core principles and enduring ideals of our government for a high-income Botswana that is digitally enabled, export-driven, and economically diversified, where every citizen is employed, empowered, and fulfilled. A key driver of NDP 12 emphasizes economic diversification, job creation, and sustainable growth. And this is the Botswana Economic Transformation Program, BETP. BETP will accelerate Botswana's transition into a high-income economy with per capita income of 200,000 pula by 2036. The program will reduce Botswana's reliance on diamonds, diversify exports, and create quality jobs for Botswana through inclusive, competitive, and sustainable growth. BETP sets 3 objectives. Number 1, achieving high-income status by 2036. Number 2, generating large-scale quality jobs. And number 3, diversifying into new industries and value chains. The 4-week Economic and Social Labs process united government, civil society, the private sector, academia, experts, and development partners to design investment-ready projects and remove key bottlenecks. From the voices we heard in the villages and cities, from the hopes etched in every household, we shaped and developed a plan and a strategy, not just for recovery, but for restoration and renewal. The priorities we now pursue: economic diversification, accountable governance, human capital investment, and sustainable innovation are designed to meet the moment and uplift every Botswana. These are not distant ideals, but practical commitments to create jobs where they are needed most, to restore dignity through health and housing, to empower youth with skills and opportunities, and to ensure that our economy grows not just in numbers, but in impact. This is how we walk the steady path, by turning national plans into personal progress and policy into lived realities. Agriculture has been identified as a sector that lays out economic transformation with the greatest prospects, immediate and long-term, for sustainable creation of jobs. This sector remains the mainstay of our rural economy and an imperative for national food security. To ensure the attainment of food security, rural development, and agro-processing opportunities, we need to raise agriculture's contribution to the GDP from the present levels of 2% to at least 6% in the immediate term. Boosting productivity, livestock production, from an estimated present level of 1 to 5 million by 2030. Livestock contributes a larger portion of rural livelihoods, yet the sector recurring droughts, resource management, and production inefficiencies such as low calving rates, high mortality rates, and lack of business development a program aimed at boosting beef sector productivity through extension support. Services advanced by this program include animal health inspections, reproductive diagnostics, artificial insemination, and farmer training in sustainability. Furthermore, government, through partnership with the Green Climate Fund, is implementing a rangeland restoration project that is envisaged to improve rangeland resilience and sustainability. This project was launched in May 2025 in Tsabo. Government will also target communal farmers as part of achieving the 5 million herd target through restoring rangelands and improving profitability and access to premium markets. I am delighted to announce that the turnaround strategy for the Botswana Meat Commission now shows signs of improvement. BMC has improved payment turnaround times. It has improved payment turnaround times from months to 7 days. In Ngamiland, the government has recently launched the direct cattle procurement scheme, where farmers are paid instantly. This scheme will greatly benefit the Ngamiland farmers, who for the longest time have not had market access. From ground zero, literally, no access to where we presently are. And we move forward with every confident stride, our gaze fixed on the future. On milk production, we've developed a focused strategy for the dairy sector through Milk Valley, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Botswana Development Corporation. For several years, progress was stalled due to the prevalence of foot and mouth disease in neighboring countries, which prevented the importation of biological assets, cattle. Currently, our local production capacity for milk and related products stands at 13%, and we are targeting an increase to over 60% by next year, from 13% to 60%. Those are huge orders of magnitude to which we've committed ourselves, targets. Recently, government completed a mission to Brazil to secure the importation of at least 1,000 Girolando cattle to kickstart this expansion. Milk Valley has secondary and tertiary capabilities. Missing in the value chain, the primary capabilities, and this is what we are addressing. We are finalizing the requisite import protocols and negotiating technical partnership agreements with sellers to ensure the successful commencement of the project. These partnerships will support us over the next 2 years by facilitating skills transfer to Botswana, who will be directly employed on the project. Recognizing that feed availability is essential for successful dairy operations, we are finalizing outgrower program guidelines to engage contract farmers around the Lobatse region in support of this project. Additionally, we are identifying other regions across the country for potential expansion once a business model is firmly established. The 2024-25 season saw a 34.2% increase in planted area compared to the previous season, yielding an estimated 144,000 tons in production, a massive improvement when compared to only 39,795 tons in the 2023-24 season. This is well within our manifesto objective of tripling food production yield and output. Another success and milestone delivered. Drought, pest infestation, floods and bushfires account for annual production losses of up to 5,000 tons per plowing season, which is why Botswana is shifting towards climate-resilient farming. Accrued horticulture production rose to 88,670 tons from 2,400 hectares, yielding an impressive 77,398 tons of vegetables and 11,272 tons of fruits. Again, evidence of great progress. This output meets 80% of Botswana's national vegetable demand and 29% of its fruit demand. Recognizing the importance of commercial scale farming, which would help us achieve the goal of national food security, we, together with a group of investors, arranged for 16 farmers from across the country to visit Bangladesh from the 25th to the 30th of July 2025. The team was led by representatives from the Ministry of Lands and Agriculture, let's say Horticulture Market, National Agricultural Research and Development Institute, NARDI, and Botswana University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Buan. The farmers, on the other hand, included members of fodder producers, fish farmers, and the Botswana National Beef Producers Union, among others. These anchor farmers are now being facilitated to start and operate farms that will act as a point of reference for other farmers. To diversify the economy through agriculture, government is leading a policy shift which will enable licit cultivation and use of industrial hemp and medicinal cannabis. To begin this program on a sound footing, Hemp Innovations, a global corporate entity with experience in the field, recently signed a memorandum of understanding with the government of Botswana to work alongside Buan and Nadi to explore and pilot hemp production. These partnerships will enable research and development for cultivation and processing of industrial hemp and medicinal cannabis. The project will be implemented in phases, starting with trials at Buan, and it will build up to Botswana farmers with interest in industrial hemp and medicinal cannabis. While the entire legal framework and associated regulations are being finalized, the Cannabis Act and Illicit Traffic in Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act have been passed into law to facilitate investment in the hemp industry. Pilot cultivation will commence in December 2025. And it will commence in December 2025 under strict oversight by the relevant authorities in line with applicable laws and regulations. On mining, earlier this year, the government of the Republic of Botswana and DBS Group announced the signature of our new agreements, which represent a shared commitment to long-term national prosperity, youth empowerment, and sustainable economic diversification. Under the new agreements, Okavango Diamond Company, ODC, accesses an increased portion of Botswana diamonds starting at 30%, increasing to 40%, and ultimately to 50% over the period of the new agreements. The ODC has announced that it is ready to undertake contract sales as an important step to diversify its sales model to handle larger volumes of diamonds. The extension of the Botswana mining licenses to 2024 will enable Botswana to deliver long-term value from its existing mining assets as well as mine life extension projects. Another key feature of our new agreements is the increased focus on marketing natural diamonds to preserve the long-term value of our diamond assets, a priority that becomes even more critical during periods of market pressure. Government is now partnering with DBS to develop, fund, and execute strategic marketing initiatives globally to enhance natural diamond desirability and demand. One such initiative is Desert Diamonds, recently launched in the United States through a nationwide campaign and partnership with key retailers ahead of the crucial end-of-year selling season. Further reinforcing this commitment to promote natural diamonds, Botswana became a founding signatory of the Luanda Accord in June 2025, marking a landmark pledge by diamond-producing nations and industry leaders to collaborate through the Natural Diamond Council to boost global consumer demand for natural diamonds. Since signing, Botswana has actively engaged with fellow diamond-producing governments to build support and momentum for this shared vision. While this administration is pushing for diversification of the mining sector, diamonds will continue to be a main contributor of economic growth and transformation for our country. It is in this regard that concrete steps are underway towards the acquisition of Anglo-Americans' shares in De Beers. Government will leverage a majority stake. I must state this and state it emphatically and unapologetically. Government will leverage a majority stake to align the industry with Botswana's national development goal of economic diversification through beneficiation. As part of Botswana's beneficiation strategy, approximately 1.4 billion will be invested to finance the construction of a plant for the production of critical mining chemicals essential to the battery sector, the mineral sector. The plant, which is to be Southern Africa's first integrated facility, will be developed in Palape, with access to a railway line connecting Suwa town, where soda ash as the biggest input will be sourced. So if Maung was similarly circumstanced, leader of opposition, there's no doubt it would be coming there. And we will move onwards to regional markets. Our mining sector is evolving rapidly, with new strategic minerals entering the fold alongside diamonds. The Letlhakane uranium project, operated by Lotus Resources, is undergoing a major infill drilling campaign to refine its resource and support a 6.2 billion Pula mine plan, targeting 3 million pounds of uranium annually. Uranium. In Kanye, Giani Metals is developing the Cahill battery-grade manganese project, having secured a mining license and a special economic zone investor license. The project aims to supply high-quality manganese for electric vehicle batteries, aligning Botswana with global clean energy supply chains. Iron ore is also becoming an important resource in the diversification mix, with projects like the Ngamiland iron ore project set to boost Botswana's steel industry. Learned friend, Mr. Kaping. These developments signal a broader shift toward industrial minerals, green steel and value-added beneficiation. Together, uranium, manganese, and iron ore form an emerging triad of opportunity in Botswana's mining renaissance. Botswana is endowed with a diverse range of mineral resources suitable for small-scale mining, SSM, including gold, copper, industrial minerals, and graphite. Globally, small-scale mining plays a critical role in livelihoods, supporting over 45 million individuals directly. To address existing policy and operational gaps, the Botswana Geoscience Institute is developing a comprehensive and progressive, pragmatic small-scale mining framework for Botswana. Its overall aim is to facilitate citizen economic empowerment through viable and environmentally sustainable SSM, small-scale mining. Energy is still an area where more investment is required. The current national demand stands at 700 megawatts. Peak demand, so the 700 megawatt is peak demand. And we have 450 megawatt nominal demand. About 65 to 70% of the national demand is met through local generation, and the deficit of 35% through imports. And you know at what cost. In order to ensure vibrant security supply and attain capacity for export, government has embarked on increasing local generation through renewable and thermal power. In terms of renewable energy, government is currently developing a total of 900 megawatts of solar PV, photovoltaic power generation in Mau, in Lethakan, Isam, while 600 megawatts of thermal is being developed at Mamabula. These projects are expected to clear the energy deficit and serve the export market. It is expected that by December 2025, more than 100 megawatts of solar photovoltaic will be streamed into the grid, while the 600 megawatt thermal is targeted for December 2027. The ongoing remediation of Morupule B, the 600 megawatt plant, has also started bearing fruits, with 3 units already running, while the other unit is to be completed by December 2025. This will bring local generation of thermal to 720 megawatt, inclusive of Morupule A, which gives 120 megawatts. Government is also working to improve the transmission capacity to, amongst others, enable export of power to the region. The Northwest Transmission Grid Phase 2 project is intended to improve transmission to the northwestern part of the country and also to provide for export of power to the north. Botswana bethu, our country is positioning itself to partake in the growing global market for renewable energy certificates. In July 2025, we formally tendered our application to the iTrack Foundation to become an authorized issuer of international renewable energy certificates, IRECs. Once approved, this will open a new revenue stream for project developers and corporate buyers seeking to meet carbon neutrality commitments. In order to ensure that security of petroleum products supply is, in order to ensure all these, security of petroleum product supplies is essential. It is essential to sustaining economic growth, national stability. And so Botswana Oil, through government funding, is advancing major storage projects to increase the security, which currently stands at 15 days of cover to 90 days. So our strategic stocks stand, as I stand here, at 15 days of cover. We must raise it, as we are presently in the process of doing, in the shortest period to 90 days of cover. The expansion of the Francistown Petroleum Depot from 38 million litres capacity to 98 million, from 38 to 98 million litres, is 88% complete, while the Hansi Depot is at 55% completion and will be commissioned in April. These two will be commissioned in April and August 2026, respectively. Investment attraction. The government is undertaking reforms to unlock land, streamline legal and regulatory frameworks, and fast-track infrastructure to meet investor expectations. Furthermore, government is in the process of establishing a national retail payment switch. National retail payment switch. A special purpose vehicle will this month of November be established under the Bank of Botswana to procure and implement the NRPS within 12 months. I had insisted on 6 months. I fought. There was a serious pushback and I was defeated by the technocrats. We've settled for 12 months, although we are still pushing for a much earlier delivery date. Phase 1, involving the mapping of the switch requirements, has been done. And technical and business specifications have been developed for a Botswana-centric switch. The switch will significantly streamline transactions, reduce leakages, increase financial inclusion, and ensure that payments for services are transparent and stay within the local economy. With coordinated special economic zones, we hope to make them, these SEZs, engines of inclusive growth, export competitiveness, and long-term prosperity for Botswana. As part of the SEZ-facilitated investments, momentum continues with Radisson Hotel. Radisson Hotel. The project will begin in April 2026 at an investment value of $50 million and is expected to create jobs directly during construction and post-completion. A licensed SEZ investor is developing a 100-megawatt solar power station near Matsiloje as a single factory. It is valued at 1 billion pula, and it will create 600 construction jobs and 30 permanent jobs post-completion, advancing our green energy goals. The journey toward industrial transformation requires bold, large-scale projects that generate employment, build manufacturing capacity, and enable meaningful technology transfer. The Botswana Development Corporation has stepped up to meet this need, driving strategic investments across high-impact sectors. Since the time you gave this administration the mandate to govern, we've worked hard to change laws in a concerted effort, ably assisted by every member of this august House, without exception, to achieve a well-regulated, integrated, development-friendly investment framework to raise levels of productive capital inflows into the economy as part of the process of diversifying the economy and stimulating employment through smart partnerships. Some of the smart partnerships we created are with CCI Global,